So before we jump in and start talking about Namebase and what you're doing there and all the cool stuff, tell me a little bit about yourself and your background. What's your story? How did you get into the space? Give my audience a little bit of an idea of who you are.
Yeah, totally. My professional background is mainly in Silicon Valley.
Mhm.
It's a little bit alternative. So when I was 16, I actually dropped out of high school to start working in the Valley, worked for a tech company called Teespring. They're funded by Y Combinator, which is the startup accelerator that also funded Dropbox and Airbnb and Reddit, a bunch of other companies as well, DoorDash. And basically, I ended up working there as a software engineer for about a year before actually starting my own company. And I ran that company for a year. We also went through YC as well for my own startup.
Mhm.
And then, just like buzzing through this, did that for a year, realized that I wanted to go to school. So I applied to MIT, got in, was very fortunate, ended up going to MIT for 2 years. And that's where I met my current co-founder, Anthony, and we just started exploring a bunch of different ideas. We're looking at ideas in the blockchain space. It was around 2018 era. And there was, still exciting stuff happening at the time. And we came across Handshake, which is this decentralized domain name protocol. And just for reference, domain names are like, google.com, youtube.com. These are all different domain names. Namebase.io is another domain name. And they're all part of what's called the domain name system, which is kind of this centralized architecture that basically is the backbone of the internet today. And effectively what Handshake does is it's creating a decentralized protocol for domain names that makes them more censorship resistant and secure. And Anthony and I were both, coming from an engineering background. We got super excited about that. And we want to build a tool that would make it, more likely to get adoption, easier for people to use. So then we go and we started Namebase, and we've been working on Namebase for the past 2-3 years now. We raised funding for it. I also got the TL fellowship to go and work on Namebase. So that's kind of a gist of my past few years. And where I am today is we're just running Namebase, trying to help grow adoption for Handshake.
Sweet. Is this your first company or did you start a company before those?
Yeah, this is the second company. The first company I started went through YC back in 2016, and that was a recruiting startup. So it's a bit of a different
Okay, cool.
industry.
Cool. California based?
Yep.
Where from?
San Francisco.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm not based in California, but I did go to college there.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah. Is Handshake a token or is it its own blockchain? I've actually haven't heard of it before.
Yeah, totally. A lot of people haven't heard about Handshake, although it's been growing a lot actually. Not the price, interestingly enough, but the assets on Handshake, the value of them has been growing exponentially. But I can get to that later. Basically, it's its own blockchain. It's a proof of work based blockchain. Functions similarly to Bitcoin, except it has a covenant system that basically allows you to register domain names on chain. It's
Mhm.
actually very similar in vision to if you go and read some of the old Bitcoin talk forums, Satoshi actually specced out a vision for like a domain name system built on top of Bitcoin called BitDNS. And he kind of had this similar vision. And Handshake is basically very similar to that vision. It's its own blockchain and allows you to register the domain names on its own blockchain. And there's a token that basically allows you to go and register the names. And that's what the token is used for.
Okay, so it's specifically designed for the domain names, the creation of these decentralized domain names.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very focused on that, and it's a very specific layer of the domain names. So the domain name system is actually like kind of like a tree. At the top, you have the extensions. So like .com, .io, .net.
Mhm.
These are all domain name extensions. They're called top level domain names. And then from there, it branches out. You can have a .com domain, .io domain, .net domain, etc. And the root of that is controlled by this organization called ICANN, which is, you have all the issues that you get with a centralized entity. You have corruption, you have cronyism, you have rent seeking, and then you also have security issues as well that are part of that. And what Handshake is trying to do is it's trying to decentralize the top level. It's decentralizing the top level domain names. So what you can register on Handshake, it's not like a normal like .com domain name. It's actually the domain extension itself.
Mhm.
So you could, for example, register, .namebase or .nakamoto or .defi, and then you actually own that name at the top level, and you can actually
Mhm.
create subdomains at the second level for yourself, and you could basically own that entire tree.
Have you had issues with ICANN, reaching out saying, hey, you guys can't do this or shouldn't do this? I had ENS on the podcast like way back in the day. Nick Johnson, I think was his name. God, it's been a long time.
Mhm.
OG episode. Um, but yeah, we were talking about it at one point, and he was diving into how with ENS, there's been, some issues with ICANN, kind of nudging them, hey, you probably shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that, or are you like an actual domain, or are you like different than that? So I know that that's been an issue with some other players in the past that have also done decentralized domains. But have you guys had any issue with that, or have they ever reached out to you? Or
Yeah, totally. So the interesting thing with ICANN is, they're basically the incumbents of the legacy infrastructure. And philosophically, ENS and Handshake are very different. So ENS tries really hard to work within the existing ICANN system, within their governance model, whereas Handshake is explicitly trying to not only decentralize the domain name infrastructure, but also decentralize the governance of it. So, for example, all of the names registered on Handshake are done through a completely decentralized auction. And there's no central authority that's like, oh, you get this domain extension and you get this domain extension. So it's completely decentralized. And so the analogy to ICANN would be, if ICANN was like the existing cab industry, Handshake would be Uber. And really the goal of Handshake is to circumvent the ICANN system and allow you to register completely permissionless domain names on the Web3 internet backed by a blockchain. And so it is like a little bit conflicting, but
Mhm.
there have been steps taken to actually make sure that there are very limited conflicts. So for example, on Handshake, you can register any domain extension except for the existing ICANN TLDs. So there are about
Mhm.
1,500 ICANN TLDs that you can't register. And then any other name you can go and register. And ICANN currently isn't issuing new TLDs. And so you actually don't really have that conflict issue. And for reference, there are over 460,000 domain extensions registered on Handshake. It's only been live for a year, so over 460,000 names have been registered, and so 1,500 out of 460,000 are like not able to be registered. So that's kind of how Handshake has taken steps to actually make sure that people can actually go and adopt it and
Mhm.
change their DNS settings and start using Handshake for their DNS without ever having to actually have an issue with the existing ICANN domain names.
Yeah, can you give me an example of one? Are you talking about when you say like the TLDs, are you talking about like the extensions, like the .coms and stuff like that? Or are you talking about like the company attached to that?
Yeah. So, for example, on Handshake, you can register a domain extension. Like, let's say you register, we have NB, right,
Mhm.
for Namebase. And we have a site up at welcome.nb. So, if you're using a Handshake resolver, which you can use through NextDNS, and there's some other implementations coming out too. Actually, Brave is looking to integrate Handshake as well. So then that'll be natively supported in
Mhm.
Brave. But if you're using Resolver or if you're using a gateway like hns.to, so if you go to hns.to, that's just like a normal Web 2.0 gateway, and you can type in welcome.nb, and it'll resolve to a website that is a normal simple website. But the interesting thing is you can actually use the domain extension as the domain itself. It's basically a dotless domain name. So for example, I have Tieshun on Handshake, and I could go and create a website at home.tieshun, but I can also use Tieshun itself as my website name. So
Mhm.
using Handshake, I can actually just go and type Tieshun in my browser, and it'll resolve to my personal site. And you can also use hns.to too. So if you go to tieshun.hns.to, it'll also resolve to the Handshake website, even without you connecting to Handshake.
What do you need in terms of a resolver? It's like ENS, you can use like MetaMask and it just and it just works as a Chrome extension. Do you need anything similar to that? You mentioned
Yeah.
something about like working with like Brave or something like that, or some other things.
Yeah, exactly. So then, the ways that you would actually go and resolve Handshake is multifaceted. One is at the browser level, you can have an integration, in which case, if you're just using the browser, then you just go and type in the name and that's it. You
Mhm.
can also use a Chrome extension. So it functions similarly to ENS or like an IPFS gateway, right? It's like you can have a Chrome extension for that, or you can use a gateway for that. And all those solutions exist in Handshake. And those are some of the ways that you can go and resolve the names.
Okay, cool. If I set up like like Amazon or something like that, is that like a big no? Like, is there like an
Uh,
issue there?
yeah, great question. So one of the reasons why, because we didn't create Handshake, we
Mhm.
discovered the protocol, and then just given our engineering background, we were very excited about the prospects of it. But we were also really excited about it and bullish on it because of the mechanisms that were baked into the protocol that we thought were very deliberately thought out to actually make sure that the existing Web 2.0 world can
Yeah.
transition over to a decentralized internet. And so something that was done is all of the Alexa top 100K domain names. So for example, like Amazon.com, Google.com, those names were pre-reserved on Handshake so that only
Mhm.
those domain owners can actually go and claim those names. And there's a decentralized process for actually going and doing that claim. But basically, only Amazon.com can claim .amazon on Handshake. So this makes it possible for these existing, big companies in the Web 2.0 world to go and, even if they hear about Handshake 2 years from now, they'll still be able to get their name and they won't have to worry about some squatter, basically holding it for ransom.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, there's some balance there too. So, I mean, it's decentralized, but at the same time, the companies, there's also a benefit and incentive to, buy the name um, and then, yeah, they can avoid that issue.
Exactly. And the cool thing about it is it's not some like centralized, trusted third party that's like, oh yeah, we're gonna decide who gets what TLD. It's that was actually that code was baked directly into the protocol, so it can't be changed anymore, and no one can actually prevent Amazon from going and doing that claim. So it's like at the onset of the
Mhm.
protocol, this was coded in, but past that, there's no centralization involved at all.
Cool. So, okay, let's say I want to set up my name because I want to do like a resume or a personal bio or something like that. What's the process like? How do I go about setting it up if I did it today?
Mhm. Yeah, so that's why we created Namebase, is basically to make it really easy to go and get a Handshake name without having to be a programmer that can, download a CLI client and do all these,
Mhm.
crazy commands and whatnot. And so basically, what you can do is you can go on Namebase, you can buy HNS. You can actually do it without KYC with Bitcoin, actually. So we support that. So you go and buy HNS, and then you go and bid on your Handshake name. So we have like a domain search panel where you can go and search for your name. And basically what happens is if no one's bid on it yet, it'll open up an auction. And this all happens completely on chain. So Namebase provides like a front end for it, kind of like a block explorer, basically.
Mhm.
And we let you see what's the activity and whatnot. But basically all of this activity happens on the chain. So you can go and submit a bid. It starts an auction. That auction runs for 5 days, where anyone can go and place a bid, and as long as you place the highest bid, you'll win that name. And then you pay the second highest bid price. So let's say you bid 100 HNS on your name, and I bid 10 HNS. You would only pay 10 HNS to win that name. And importantly, you're not actually paying it to Namebase or any other foundation or something like that.
Mhm.
That 10 HNS just gets burned on chain, which creates a deflationary effect for the coin. But after that, you now own the name, and you can actually go and create a website for it. You can create a decentralized link tree for it. We have a few applications that we built that make it really easy to set up some websites on Handshake. So we can create a decentralized link tree. We call it D-links. You can set up redirects. You can set up a WordPress site. Or you can, edit the DNS records just like you would for a normal domain name, and
Mhm.
basically do whatever you want with it.
Gotcha. So you have to so yeah, you bid on it like auction style once you decide what you want, and then you do that with HNS though, or the HNS token. Where do you buy that? Like Bittrex, Binance, or something like
Yeah.
that?
Oh yeah. So you can just buy that directly on Namebase.
Oh, okay. With Ethereum, Bitcoin?
So you buy it with Bitcoin, or you can buy it with US dollars. So if you're in the US, we actually have a fiat on ramp. So I can just buy that with US dollars. And then if you're outside of the US, we currently only support buying it with Bitcoin, but we are supporting buying with US dollars globally, within the next 6 months. So, right now it might be like a little bit more annoying than necessary to actually get HNS if you're outside the US. But very soon it should be, as easy as using your debit card to make a payment.
Very cool. I mean, that seems easy enough too. That's what people want, right? They want to be able to do something like this and have all the benefits and have it be pretty simple and streamlined to, set up and figure out and buy and sell too. I saw on the website that you can like not only just buy them and own them, but you can, trade them like on your exchange or whatever too. Like
Mhm.
what goes into that?
Yeah, yeah. So that's the other cool thing is we also have a marketplace for the names. So you might find like, let's say you're looking for, I'll just look right now for Brandon and see um, if that's been registered already. So, Brandon actually, it's starting in 2 days. So actually that's really good
Oh,
timing. You can go and bid on your name because otherwise, usually first names as well, they go for like a good amount. So the interesting thing is because it's like a auction system, some
mhm,
names can go for free, right? If no one else bid on your name, then you would get your name for free.
mhm,
All the way up to the most expensive name sold, I think, is Dot Wallet, which sold for 350,000 HNS, which is around $50,000 at the time. So you can, have a huge range from $0 to $50,000.
right.
And then actually on the secondary market, NFT, we just announced this. NFT was resold on the Namebase marketplace for $84,000. So it was initially bought for around $500 in August, and then now, just a few months later, the owner was able to resell it for $84,000, which is like a 170x increase in appreciation. So it's
Mhm,
actually really great that your name hasn't released yet because it's better to be able to bid directly
right.
before having to buy it in the secondary marketplace.
So
But
is someone else bidding on my name right now, or do I need to go take it real quick?
no, so it hasn't released yet. So it's literally releasing in 2 days.
Oh,
But there will
cool.
definitely be people bidding on it. We also show you how many people have viewed your name on Namebase. If you go to namebase.io/domains/Brandon, and you can see it's had 43 unique views. So there'll probably be some bidding activity on that name. But it's definitely winnable.
Yeah, some famous Brandons out there, so I gotta grab that one. What about
Yeah.
like shorter ones? Like my last name is like 4 letters, Zemp. Is that something you can also register? Do you have like a limit on how few characters can be in the name?
Yeah, you can register. As little as one character domain
Oh, cool.
names. Yeah, but those are usually like the most expensive ones. So, for example, like .x is another one. That one went for 300,000 HNS, $30,000 to $40,000. But then Zemp actually was sold for 0 HNS. So no one else, someone already registered that. No one else bid on it, and so the winner of that was able to register it for free. But what we do on the Namebase marketplace is you can actually go and make an offer, so that even if someone went and registered your name, you can
Mhm.
still buy it. And it's basically like an NFT. It's like an NFT marketplace. And
Someone
the
registered my last name? What?
yeah,
Really? It's not that
yeah,
common.
I
I'm
know. It
probably
must
related
be
to them.
maybe they're your brother or something. Yeah, but that's like the cool thing is like, there's like an economy for these names now. And the really cool thing is the marketplace has been growing at 60% month over month for the past, I think it's actually 70% month over month for the past 6 months. And so it's been
Uh-huh.
growing exponentially. The names of value, right? Like I just shared that NFT was bought for $500 and then sold for $84,000. And a lot of names are, being bought for really cheap and being resold. We're still really early into the ecosystem, but we're already starting to see this like economy. So for people who are into trading NFTs or into collectibles, it's actually a really amazing ecosystem to jump into.
Oh yeah, NFT marketplaces right now are going crazy. I think OpenSea just had like record volume or something in last couple days in January.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, same for us.
Nice, nice. Um, do you guys have an extension that you see that's grabbed the most, that's like the most popular to get? Like, is there like a dot NFT or dot crypto something or something like that that you just see pop up that people want?
Yeah, so we see, there are definitely like trends that are that people are into. So, for example, like last names, right? So, if
Mhm.
you have your name .zemp, and then you can
Yeah.
have Brandon.zemp as your domain name. And so, people have these themes that they go for their last names. Some people are going after like more like adult industry names, right? Like .x or .xx.
Hmm.
And so that's another theme. And then another one was, NFTs and crypto native, crypto specific names. Those are really appealing as well. And so that's a really interesting thing about it. It's like a game where it's like, okay, can you identify what the trends are that are valuable? The person who got NFT, like that's like a great payday, right? Basically getting $80,000 for free. And other people are really getting and finding these niches and be like, okay, like this, community hasn't discovered yet. Like, can we get their names for them? And people also gift names a lot as well, because they're also trying to grow adoption of the network and grow usage. And so it's definitely an interesting ecosystem. And there's all sorts of trends I can kind of play into.
Nice, nice. Now, it sounds really interesting. I'm gonna have to set up a bunch at some point here. What in terms of like security and like privacy and stuff like that, because it's decentralized and not everything's necessarily recorded. Like, does it give you a degree of anonymity or full anonymity? Um, does it track your IP or what are the limits to that? Or is it like completely anonymous? Because I know there's probably a lot of people that are wondering that,
Mhm.
right now when they listen to it is, you know, to what degree is there the privacy and security?
Yeah, totally. So for the protocol itself, so Handshake as a blockchain, the anonymity model is basically the same as Bitcoin. So you have, every transaction is public on chain, and there are, wallets that are associated with each transaction, but it's effectively pseudonymous, just like Bitcoin is pseudonymous. And then when you use Namebase, so we're a regulated US exchange. And so when you use that, you might have to go in KYC to get the coins to go and purchase the name. But actually something that we recently enabled is that you can actually go and create an account and get HNS just for bidding. So you can't like actually sell the HNS without KYC, but you can actually get the HNS just for bidding, get your name and withdraw your name without having to provide any personal info. And we're actually going to make that even more smooth. And so, in the future, we'll support like USDC or, other protocols, and also make it so that you don't even need to create an account. And basically what we're trying to do is make it so that, if you want to buy and sell the coin, right? If you want to like invest in the coin, that's going to be the same as any other exchanges. Like we need to, for better or for worse, we need to kind of collect that info. But if you just want to get the name, right now it's possible to get it without providing personal info. But in the future, you'll not only be able to do that as you can now, but you can do that like in an even more streamlined way. And that's what we're trying to get to, just because that also supports the ethos of the protocol, and supports all the use cases that you might want to use it for as much as possible.
Okay, cool. What about like a hash? Like if I went to like IPFS and I input some kind of media and got a hash out, like on ENS, I can plug that in and it'll resolve that hash. Can you do
Mhm.
something similar as well? Like if you didn't want to do a website, you want to do something more creative, more decentralized.
Yeah, you can 100% do that. So you can associate any type of record with your Handshake name, and the gateways also respect that. So, for example, you can point your name to an IPFS hash, and then that'll go and resolve through a gateway. Or, for example, like D-Links, the decentralized link tree that I mentioned, that's using a storage protocol called Skynet, created by
Oh,
the Saya protocol team,
mhm.
and it basically points to a Skynet hash, and then you're actually able to resolve a fully decentralized website using your Handshake name. So you can do that today, which is really cool.
Yeah, Skynet. That sounds a little scary. Are you sure?
Yeah, I feel like they should have chosen a different
I
different
don't know
name
if
for
that
the
was a good
protocol.
name to pick.
Yeah, but that's the cool thing that we're seeing is, when we started Namebase, our thesis was that as centralization and censorship grew and got worse on the Web 2.0 internet, there's going to be an increasing need for a decentralized DNS for the Web 3.0 internet.
Mhm.
Because the thing that most people don't realize is, if you think about the internet protocol stack, you have TCP, IP, you have HTTP, and then you have DNS, and you have some other protocols, application-specific protocols like email, etc. But DNS is actually at the center of the internet. It's an entry point on your web browser, right? The first thing you do on a web browser, you type in a domain name, right? You type in
Mhm.
google.com or youtube.com or facebook.com. So it's actually a front and center infrastructure for the internet. And it's one of the most important pieces of the infrastructure that needs decentralizing. So that was our thesis for it. And now what we've seen over the past few years is that thesis is basically coming to fruition. Just this last month, we have Trump's deplatforming, Partler getting shut down across every layer of the stack, right? AWS banning them and all these other service providers. We have the WhatsApp exodus to Signal, which is crazy to see. Now Signal has a huge jump in users. We have the Wall Street bets getting banned from Discord. And so we're
Mhm.
seeing the centralized internet basically break down and breaking at the seams. And now there's this massive wave of decentralization. And the way we see it is Handshake is that decentralized DNS protocol that can provide that front end for the internet, and you can basically compose it with all the other decentralized internet protocols that are now released. Right? We have Filecoin, we have IPFS, we have Skynet, and these are protocols that, when you compose them together, are actually going to be the foundational protocols for the decentralized Web 3.0 internet that'll solve a lot of the problems that exist in the current internet. And so that's kind of our motivation.
It sounds like it bodes incredibly well for you guys too, given the fact that there's privacy issues, monetary issues, people moving out of the stock market right now to decentralized assets, cryptos, things like that. People moving out of WhatsApp into Signal. People choosing to gamble their $600 check versus just going to the store and buying whatever they can. I mean, it just feels like the system is a joke right now, and all the centralized bodies and powers that be, you know everyone's starting to push back against that. And I imagine places where they can have a platform and not get deplatformed or canceled, because that's another issue as well on all these social media platforms. I imagine for you guys, having these decentralized domains gives people a huge ability and an advantage to, move out of that system, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. It's both fortunate and unfortunate, right? It's like our thesis is correct, but the bad thing is our thesis is correct, and we're starting to
Yeah.
see this, trend crystallize. And the way that I look at it is, it's effectively, getting your name on Handshake is basically insurance against the centralized internet. And so
Mhm.
something that you might see on Twitter, if you start following, people who are, Handshake enthusiasts, is people change their names to their name slash. So for example, on Twitter, I'm Tieshun slash. And that just indicates that it's my Handshake name. So if I ever get banned on Twitter or whatever, anyone can always find me at my Tieshun name on Handshake, and then I'll always be able to update that. So that makes it possible so that if anyone ever, if I ever get shut down, people can still access, who want to reach out to me, can still access my decentralized page, because it's also hosted on Skynet, and they'll always be
Mhm.
able to access that, and I can go and update that. So it's really just insurance against the centralized internet failing. And what we're seeing now is like, okay, that insurance seems like it's going to have to pay out, because the centralized internet is just kind of breaking down. The number one domainer in the world, this guy Andrew Rosner, he literally sells millions of domain names every year. He's like number one on Isro.com. He actually sold X.com to Elon Musk, and he's actually
Mhm.
getting into Handshake names now. And the way he described it was, when he first discovered it a year ago, he thought of it as this like little toy, just like a fun thing to play around with on the side. And now he increasingly sees it as a hedge because he sees like the issue. He's deep into the existing system, right? Like he has made all of his wealth just off of domain names in the existing system, and now he sees it as an important hedge because the existing system seems to be breaking down, and so it's increasingly important for him to actually increase his exposure to Handshake because it's going to be the thing that protects him as issues with the traditional domains arise.
Yeah, it's smart and it makes a lot of sense. Him doing that, buying him up, you doing that just in case for some reason you got deplatformed or anyone, it makes a lot of sense to do that. Um, can you attach like a payment address to it as well, similar to Ethereum, or does that require more, third party cooperation like with like Coinbase or one of these other platforms to resolve it? Or is that integrated in already or something maybe you guys want to do in the future?
Yeah, totally. So you can attach any data to it. So you can attach a wallet address to it.
Mhm.
I will say though that one of the aspects of getting that to work really well is you want to do more like wallet integrations and partnerships. And
Mhm.
that's not something that we've done before, but we are starting to get into that. And so yes, you can attach a wallet to it, but over the next year, we're going to make that increasingly seamless as part of the experience, so that you can actually go and do that and use it in the wallets that you use day to day. So that's something that I would expect in the next 12 months.
Okay, so something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool, cool. Well, before we wrap it up and everything, because I think we've covered quite a lot of stuff, um, where can people find you on social media? Where can they learn more about Namebase? Is the website the blessed best place to go? Is there a blog? You tell me.
Yeah, totally. So the website namebase.io, that's going to be the easiest way to get started on Handshake. And in terms of myself, I'm Tieshun R on Twitter, but probably the easier way is just if you go to Tieshun on Handshake, you can just
Mhm.
use hns.to for that. So it's just tieshun.hns.to, and I list out all of my social links there. We also have a site up for Namebase as well at NB. So that might be an even easier one. Just go to nb.namebase.hns.to, and you'll be able to find our website, our Discord. We have a learning center as well, a bunch of resources to get started. And of course, we also have like a support channel. So if anyone ever asks on Intercom or in our Discord, we're pretty responsive there too.
Cool, cool. Well, hey man, thanks for taking the time to come on and talk about Namebase and HNS and all this uh, cool stuff surrounding decentralized domains and everything you can do with them and the far-reaching benefits of having them, now, especially with all the chaos and everyone starting to like kind of fight back and revolt against the centralized system we live in. Interesting times, very interesting times. But thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. I think my audience will appreciate it as well.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Brandon.
Of course, stay safe, stay healthy. Talk to you again soon.